All right, welcome back to Huey's Perception. So what we're gonna do? We're gonna discuss this Jonathan Majors verdict today. We're gonna go through the video, and we're gonna stop piece by piece and kind of discuss what this guy is saying, what the interview is asking, and kind of what I think, and maybe what everyone else is thinking with the entire case. Because honestly, before I really get into it, I just think the entire thing was baseless. It was a witch hunt, and it just was out. Someone was out to destroy this guy's legacy. I'm gonna be honest with you. I mean, I understand that now, but I'm be honest. He has had a couple cases against him. Well, let's say accusations that he was out putting his hands on women. So that will damage a reputation, seriously. And with his verdicts, let's go down on his verdicts. He had reckless assault, 3rd degree, all right, and that's a misdemeanor. Then he had harassment in a 2nd degree. Okay, so from what I read, 3rd degree reckless assault isn't like what people would think it is. It is honestly as simple as it can be. You can basically touch a person to get that. And then harassment is kind of on that same level. And the whole situation is terrible because this guy, he had all kind of things going on. He had movies in Marvel. He had different movies that was in line with different studios, and he had a list of studios and movies that were coming up that he was gonna have to be a part of. And now this has really put a damper on his legacy. But let's check out the interview, and we're gonna see where we're gonna go from here, and we're gonna depict it as we go through.
Conversation surrounds that marquee name.
Something about sitting here right now and looking at you and understanding the gravity of the situation. A situation that I, in many ways, put myself in.
The actor spoke exclusively with ABC News for the first time after being convicted in late December for harassment and misdemeanor reckless assault in the 3rd degree, which could carry a penalty of up to a year behind bars.
Why did you decide you wanted to talk now?
I felt like it was time. A lot has happened in my personal life, in my career, in the culture. It's about responsibility and coming forward and being brave and giving my part of the story.
Your reaction to that verdict?
Shock.
Weren't we all shocked? I mean, but damn, that just goes to show this man wasn't even expecting that. He knew that there was no way they could convict him.
I was absolutely shocked and afraid. And I'm standing there, and the verdict comes down. I say, how is that possible? Based off the evidence, based off the prosecution's evidence, let alone our evidence. How is that possible?
See, this is why I just completely believe that was just a witch hunt. I mean, it was either a witch hunt or they wanted to make some kind of example of him as an actor and possibly one of the most versatile actors to date.
But after only hours of deliberation, a jury of his peers agreed with prosecutors that he did physically injure his then-girlfriend Grace Jabbari in an incident last March.
What happened exactly, do you know?
No, I don't know. But she's unconscious.
That 911 call from Majors came hours after an argument broke out with Jabbari in the back seat of an SUV when Majors received a text from another woman saying, "Oh, how I wish to be kissing you." Jabbari testified that when she grabbed the phone, Majors tried to get it back, fracturing her finger and giving her a cut behind her ear.
She says inside the car, you hit her in the face,
Yeah.
twist her arm behind her back, fracture her middle finger.
Yeah, that did not happen.
How did those injuries come about?
I wish to God I knew. That would give clarity. That would give me some type of peace about it.
But you're confident you didn't cause
I have no
them.
question.
Surveillance video shows Majors getting out of the car, followed by Jabari, whom he then puts back inside the vehicle. What happens next is what the defense remains focused on. Majors runs off, and Jabari chases after him.
If you watch those videos and you reverse that, and you saw a black man chasing a young white girl down the street, screaming and crying, that man is going to be shot and killed in the streets of New York City.
Major's defense team shared these photos, which he says show the injuries he received that night, which were deemed inadmissible in court.
I mean, damn, can we be more honest? Like, this is ridiculous. Like, come on, my boy. This is a battle that he's losing. How can you get scratches and bruises and they deem it admissible? That's ridiculous. Clearly a witch hunt. And I'm sorry for you, my boy. Clearly a witch hunt.
How were you injured?
My injuries were, I had a scratch on my hand, from clawing for the phone. And I had a gash on at the time I had a beard. Under my beard, I had essentially a fingernail scratch on my cheek from pressure. And that bled overnight.
But prosecutors say Majors was the aggressor. District Attorney Alvin Bragg says the evidence presented throughout this trial illustrated a cycle of psychological and emotional abuse. In court, prosecutors pointed to a previous argument during which he knocked a candle to the floor.
I completely lost my temper in that moment and threw it all on the ground. That's not something I would want my child to do. And I did that. I absolutely did that. And felt terrible about it.
The prosecution also played audio Jabari had recorded earlier in the relationship where Majors encouraged her to act more like Coretta Scott King and Michelle Obama.
I'm a great man. A great man. I am doing great things, not just for me, but for my culture and for the world. That is actually the position I'm in. The woman that supports me needs to be a great woman.
There are some who question, especially in the black community, as you're probably well aware, that people were saying, well, why was he telling this woman to be like Coretta Scott King and Michelle Obama?
It was me trying to give an analogy of what it is I'm aspiring to be. These great men, Martin, President Obama, and trying to give a reference point to that. One of the things I also say is I need her, in that case Grace, to make the same sacrifices that I am making.
In a statement to ABC News, an attorney for Jabari said in part, "It is not at all surprising that Mr. Majors continues to take no accountability for his actions," adding, "The timing of these new statements demonstrates a clear lack of remorse for his actions."
Do you feel you're not responsible for her injuries at all?
I shouldn't have been in the car. I shouldn't have stepped out of the relationship. I shouldn't have been in the relationship. If I'm not in the car, none of this is happening. If I leave the relationship, none of this is happening. If I'm man enough or brave enough to say, I want to see somebody else, or I'm done now, I'm not in that car. We're not here. I'm responsible for those things.
But none of her injuries.
I can't say that. None of her injuries.
All right, guys, you seen that and you heard that. I wanted to go ahead and kind of go over that and see, like, when I first seen that he broke his silence, I was just like, man, I really want to hear what's going on because it was such a big deal. And I mean, now that I heard it for myself, I kind of already knew that it was going to go that route. And I was kind of already ahead that he was going to say stuff like that because honestly, it was just ridiculous. The case was ridiculous. I mean, let's be honest. The guy when you have when you a man and you just trying to live your life and find a wife and build a career, you're not trying to beat up on her like that. You know, a lot of times I realize um with a lot of cases when it comes to being rich and dealing with rich people and a lot of them women, they they're getting older and they only have so many options. But when they do hit a gold mine, they want to sink their claws into it as much as they can. And if they can't do it, I mean, even if they can, and then whatever they got their claws sinked into, start trying to disappear or run away, then it's like, bro, come back. And if I can't have you, nobody can. And I mean, and I honestly think this is one of them cases that he got screwed over. He dealt with the wrong woman, and he got screwed up. Now I'm not gonna say, oh, he should only date black or never date white again or I date outside his race. It's not even my type of lingo. I don't even think like that. I think love is love, no matter if you white, black, blue, or green. If you were in love, you were in love with that person. But uh, it's two parts to this. So see, I might go ahead and go over both parts, but um, honestly, I think the second part pretty much is gonna be the same, man. I mean, the guy really shouldn't be guilty of anything. He should have been acquitted of all charges. I mean, just the claims was baseless, but I think the judge, the prosecutor, and the jury wanted to make both parties happy in that case. But in reality, versus making both parties happy, they literally destroyed one person's career or damn near versus just kind of trying to make both people happy or trying to make the Me Too people happy or whatever their goal was. It couldn't been them trying to be fair because this just wasn't fair. I mean, he had scratches too, and he wouldn't even let them show it to him. It just wasn't fair, and I feel for you, my guy. But like and subscribe, Huey's Perception, and I'll give you my thoughts on things. All right, peace out.